Oh, man. The Byron Nelson Classic in Texas. Byron Nelson is one of the great first superstars on the PGA Tour. Great gentleman. Scottie Scheffler, who made his first pro start at the Byron Nelson, Texas native. Scottie Scheffler burned the record books down. He finished at 31 under par for the 4 days
Wow.
in the Byron Nelson Classic. They showed a picture during the course of the tournament of a 6-year-old Scottie Scheffler at the tournament with a 94-year-old Byron Nelson. Byron, of course, was the ceremonial guy who'd make the first shot off the tee to start the tournament, and just a legend in the state of Texas. Scottie Scheffler had 29 birdies and 3 eagles in 4 days.
Holy moly.
He was 31 under par. And he's such a classy gentleman. He just, and you could just see all the guys who stayed around the 18th green to watch him do this. He tied the all-time PGA record going back to the early 1900s, the lowest 4-day score at 31 under par. I mean, it was really special. So we have a superstar. He might not be Tiger. He might not be Phil, but Scottie Scheffler. And, of course, he's fought back from a hand surgery, and he's finally started to really play good golf. And 31 under par, my God, nobody does that.
He's a borderline criminal, too. He almost...
Well, nah. That was a bad decision by a lot of different people. Let's talk about the Kentucky Derby. Rain, mud, too much speed. Severnante gets out of the traffic jam coming out of the fourth turn. Came from 6th place, held off Journalism, who went with him. Journalism was in 5th spot, and they both were caught in traffic coming out of the fourth turn and moved out. They found a seam, and they both went and ran wide down the final stretch. What a phenomenal sprint to the finish line. Torrid pace. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. He had 19 horses. Citizen Bull, Bob Baffert's 3-year-old, started inside at number 1 and rocketed out of the gate. And there was so much contact coming out of the gate. I thought a horse or two was going to go down. Citizen Bull rocketed out and set a torrid pace, but ran itself out by the backstretch. And the general consensus is you start number 1, you preserve your speed because you're going to have the shortest distance to run. There will be traffic closing down on you. But Citizen Bull, just a jockey, I thought made a terrible mistake in the muddy conditions, rocketed out and then faded. Citizen Bull finished 15th and was in first place for half the race and just died out there. But it's interesting now. The conversation is none of the name horses that ran in the Derby are going to run on the second leg of the Triple Crown. They're all going to bypass the Preakness because it's only 2 weeks off. And they're going to save the horses to go to the Belmont Stakes up at Saratoga Springs, which is 5 weeks after that. So, I mean, it was an electric Derby in just god-awful conditions. And the last topic on the table, it wouldn't be Formula One if we didn't have controversy. Item 1, Miami Grand Prix. This kid from Argentina is really something. Oscar Piastri got the pole, ran from the pole, won his 3rd race in a row on the Formula One circuit this season. He had a 12-second lead. In his rearview mirror was the controversial Max Verstappen. He got into a duel with the other big driver on the F1 circuit, Lando Norris, and they darted and dashed past each other. You talk about bold, brazen moves on corners. I'm surprised neither one of them crashed. Both of them went almost on the paint on the edge of the track to pass each other. But they used up so much of their tires, and Piastri just ran away from them, built a 12-second lead. It was phenomenal. And then there was Mr. Ferrari Lewis Hamilton, Sir Lewis Hamilton, the ex-Mercedes star. He got into an argument on the pit radio with his crew. They screwed up everything, and I don't understand. He was having a debate. When are we stopping? When are we doing the tire change? When should I make a pass? And his people in the pits are saying, we're talking about it. Well, he goes by the pits, so he can't make that stop on that lap, and he's losing time. He lost his mind on the radio with his pit crew because the Formula One broadcasters got hold of the audio. Says, "What are you guys doing? I'm trying to win. You're sitting there having tea in the pits." He was really pissed, and they've had constant problems with communication, setup, race strategy, etc. Sir Lewis finished. He qualified 12th, which was rotten. He finished 8th, and they thought they could get it inside the top 5. And he had trouble trying to, with the pit people deciding when to stop, what tires to change. So just the whole Sir Lewis thing to Ferrari's been bizarre. Okay, Scottie Scheffler. I'd ask you if you could identify with 31 under par, but I've seen you shoot golf balls. I know it's not possible, but go ahead, talk about that. Talk about the mud in the Derby.
A couple of things here. First of all, Byron Nelson is a old golfer, right?
Oh yeah,
yeah. Because I mean, he's one of those names that I've heard of, and I know they have this tournament. But he must have been big time before Arnold Palmer
in the 40s, and he was involved in a terrible automobile accident, nearly died. He was out of golf forever, and he came back and he dominated.
Really?
Yeah, he was. Google that in your spare time. He's a phenomenal man. On the highways, this is really interesting. On the highways in the state of Texas, well, you're going to Texas, I guess, in a week. We're going to do our podcast on the road in the next couple of weeks here. On the highways, they have these highway signs with a top hat. Byron Nelson's top hat.
Really?
Yeah.
No idea.
Cool. Oh, he was a great gentleman. I mean, he was a different era, obviously, 40s into the 50s, but really special.
Then just a couple of quick hits here on the Kentucky Derby. MAGA Nation loved the result because sovereignty beat journalism. That's clever. You got to give it to him on that. So you could tip a red hat.
That might be the only time in my life.
Okay. And then the F1 thing is interesting to me because, first of all, the race is on Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Saturday, I'm channel surfing and I'm like, oh, yeah, the Miami Grand Prix. We were just talking about that. So I was watching it on Saturday, but it was more like time trials or, and so it's just individual cars on the track. But I loved the way the course was Miami. It had the aqua color painted on there and it was a great vibe. And I remember I was talking to my wife about it, and she's watched a lot of those F1 shows on Netflix and she's kind of into it a bit. And she's telling me, she says, wouldn't it be great, to go to an F1 race here in America? We were saying, would you go in Austin or Miami or Vegas? So we have that conversation.
What's the limit on your credit card?
Well, yeah, I know. It's expensive. But then she said this, you want to talk about credit card limits. She said, wouldn't it be great if we could go to Monaco and watch that? But we'd have to get some rich guy with a yacht to let us in there to watch it. But that would be like, we wave a magic wand. That's a bucket list.
Well, hell, we did this podcast while you're at the Guinness Brewery in Dublin, Ireland, from up in the top bar. So we could do it from Monaco.
Yeah. I don't know if that's ever going to happen. Let's just see if I can get to Austin or Vegas or Miami.
I heard the audio of Lewis Hamilton yelling at his pit crew. I'm trying to win the race. You guys are sitting there having tea. What are we doing? Pit strategy. It was just hilarious. This move from Mercedes to Ferrari it's been a disaster for Lewis Hamilton. He's losing his mind.
Well, every time you come in with the podcast update on Lewis Hamilton, it's always something.
Well, it's either him or Verstappen. What a soap opera.
Yeah, both of them. Yeah,
exactly. Okay, those are all the topics on the table. Now it's your chance to jump on board. We're going to give you a half hour to express opinions here because Fans Forum chat box is open.